Are you ready for the most controversial Oscars yet? Is this film AI generated? Did this film need an intimacy coordinator? Is this film propaganda? Did this fan go too far? And is this the worst film ever made? Let me speedrun the answers. No, they're grown adults, kind of. LOL, I'll get to it. Instead of having impassioned debates about topics most of us don't know much about, let's actually talk about the films. Anora is the latest film from Sean Baker, the same filmmaker who made Tangerine, The Florida Project and Red Rocket. It also won the Palme d'Or at the 2024 Cannes Film Festival. It is currently nominated for 6 Oscars, so let's go through them. Best Director. If you look at Baker's previous films, this is his most ambitious film yet. You can really see him grow as a filmmaker with each successive release. How each scene is presented and paced feels perfect. A lot of scenes will go on for a long time, but the combination of the writing, performances, cinematography and blocking makes me wish that they could last even longer. There are countless creative choices here that enhance the film in one way or another. If Baker were to win, I would be happy. Lead Actress. Mikey Madison delivers my favourite performance of the year. There isn't a single moment where I wasn't completely captivated by her. She plays an explosive, extremely antisocial character, and it is endlessly entertaining watching her berate and bicker with the other characters. However, Madison is able to extract the humanity from this character, giving her sufficient depth. This is one of the most entertaining and nuanced performances of the decade, and I will be mad if she doesn't win. Supporting Actor. I was not expecting Yura Borisov to be nominated at all, so this was a pleasant surprise. Borisov is an actor who I would consider to be underrated. He delivers an extremely low-key and subtle performance in Anora. He doesn't say much, but is able to communicate a lot through his body language and facial expressions. Despite how quiet he is, it's still an utterly enthralling performance. I would be very happy if he won. Original Screenplay. The screenplay is one of the most impressive things about Anora. Each character is fully fleshed out, which leaves a lot to chew on once the film is over. Even the side characters get unexpected development, making it feel like you've watched 3 seasons of a TV series by the time it's over. Not only are these characters layered, but they are endlessly entertaining. I don't know if I can pick a favourite. Actually, it's Taurus. It's always Taurus. I could watch these characters interact with each other all day. The film starts off as a dreamy, romantic fairy tale type story, but gradually unravels into a stressful nightmare. The way this film spirals into chaos is so goddamn hilarious and satisfying. This is easily my choice for the Original Screenplay Award. Film Editing. The editing here works very effectively. As I said, this film has scenes that spiral out of control, and the editing helps a lot with creating that sense of immediate urgency. In some ways, it reminded me a lot of Uncut Gems. This would be a good win, to be honest. And then lastly, Best Picture. I don't know what else I can really say about this. This is a thoughtful, tender, warm film that is also outrageous and exhilarating. I love just about everything about it, especially the ending. As of writing this, it is currently my second favourite film of 2024, and I would love to see this win Best Picture. And I'm feeling a 9 out of 10 on this. The Brutalist is a film that I've already talked about in a previous video. This is the 3rd film from actor turned director Brady Corbett, or Corbet, I don't know which way it's pronounced, I think it's Corbett. His previous films were Vox Lux and The Childhood of a Leader, but I was more familiar with him starring in Funny Games US and Simon Killer. At one point I would have considered him to be an underrated actor, so it's great to see him breaking out as a director. This film generated a lot of buzz because of its use of VistaVision cameras and its gargantuan 3-hour 40-minute long runtime that features a built-in intermission. It is nominated for 10 Oscars. Director. This is easily one of the most ambitious films of the past decade. It feels incomprehensibly gigantic in terms of scope and scale. It's insane to think how this entire thing was funded for under $10 million and was shot in under a month. Every aspect works together cohesively to create something truly special. It's actually mind-blowing to see how some scenes were pulled off. It is nothing short of visionary, and Corbett absolutely deserves this award. Lead actor. Adrien Brody delivers his best performance in possibly years. It's a fully fleshed out, fully realised character, so much so that thinking that this were a biopic would be an easy mistake to make. There is so much emotion and range on display here that Brody makes it look easy. Brody winning this award would be a no-brainer. Supporting actor. Guy Pearce delivers a career best performance here. Absolutely electric. I was hanging on every single word he said. Even though he's playing a borderline cartoonish, larger than life type character, he completely steals the show. It's one of my favourite performances of the year. He should win it. Supporting actress. Felicity Jones undeniably proves herself as a talent to watch. She is able to match the prowess of acting veterans here. Transformative doesn't even begin to describe how impressive her performance is. She is absolutely above and beyond deserving of this award. Original screenplay. The film thoroughly explores its characters and concepts. It heads down some dramatically impactful directions, especially towards the end. It's full of foreshadowing and symbolism, but it doesn't make it obvious, so you can derive multiple meanings from it. This film feels like a journey. By the end of it, it feels like you've completed some monumental task, like you've just climbed a mountain or read a gigantic book. I would like to see this win. It wouldn't be a bad pick. Cinematography. This film looks staggeringly beautiful. The lighting and colour grading are nothing short of vibrant. I adore the way landscapes and scenery are captured in this. There are plenty of impressive one-ers. The VistaVision cameras add a ton of aesthetic texture, making it look even more sublime. This is easily one of the best looking films of the year, and it would be a crime for it to not win. Film editing. In terms of editing, this is probably one of the most cohesively assembled films ever. Each cut perfectly fits into the overall structure. Even the way this film cuts to its intermission is incredibly invigorating and satisfying. There are several scenes from this that are on replay in my head because of the editing. I think it's pretty obvious that I wouldn't mind seeing this win. Production design. The film feels period authentic and is filled with sets that feel larger than life. Given that it's about architecture, it's appropriate how magnificent a lot of the interiors/exteriors look. There's also a lot of thematic significance as to how these sets look. Original score. Daniel Bloomberg's score is my favourite score of the year. It is glorious and triumphant. It lets you know immediately that you're watching something special. I love the range of emotions this score is able to deliver. I love the dynamic range of how loud and foreboding it is, but also how quiet and soft and subtle it is. It's my favourite score of the year. I would obviously like it to win. Then lastly, Best Picture. This film feels like a classic from an alternate timeline, was dropped into our present. It is endlessly impressive and even mind-blowing how this thing was put together. It is deeply layered and has a lot to say about artistic expression, legacy, and the American dream. The more I think about it, the better it gets. This is easily my favourite film of 2024, and I would love for this to win. I am overflowing with love for this film. I don't know what else I can say other than I think it's a masterpiece. It's a film that I feel like I could return to again and again, and I think it's an easy 10 out of 10. A Complete Unknown is the latest film from James Mangold, who also made Logan, Ford v Ferrari, and Walk the Line. This film is a biopic centered around the early career of legendary folk singer Bob Dylan. It is nominated for 8 Oscars. Best Director. It is an absolute joke that Mangold was nominated here. I don't think there was a single noteworthy creative decision in this entire film. This film is as bland, basic, and as soulless as they come. It is infuriating to no end to think about all the other directors who are much more deserving of this nomination than Mr. Bread and Water. Not deserving of the nomination, should not win. Lead Actor. Timothée Chalamet is utterly embarrassing here. He doesn't look like Bob Dylan at all. They just threw a scarf on him and got him to do a silly voice and called it a day. This is a dull, lifeless performance that is devoid of skill and charisma. Simply looking at old footage of Bob Dylan immediately reveals how much of a hack job this was. What's more is that Chalamet gave a tremendously impressive performance in Dune Part 2. Comparing both performances is like night and day. This is legitimately one of the most underwhelming performances of the year. It would be farcical for him to win for this. Supporting Actor. Edward Norton gives a genuinely terrible performance. It's not as laughable as Chalamet, but still bad. Like a lot of this film's other nominations, it is infuriating to think about how this has taken up space from other more deserving people who should have been nominated. Supporting Actress. When this nomination got announced, I had no idea who this was or what character she played. It is a very lame, uninteresting, and forgettable performance. Does not deserve to be nominated, and it would be ridiculous if she won. Oh yeah, it was Monica Barbaro? Monica Barbaro. Barbara? Monica Barbara. Who the fuck got nominated? Adapted screenplay. No. This was one of the most bland, formulaic, and uninspired screenplays imaginable. Not to mention all of the blatant historical inaccuracies. I don't know what anyone was supposed to get out of this story. It is absolutely beyond parody. It does not deserve to win. Costume design. They clipped a scarf onto Chalamet and called it a day. Sound. Feels obligatory because the movie is about music. There's nothing special going on here. Best Picture. This is one of the most forgettable, flat and lifeless films nominated this year. It has absolutely nothing to offer and feels like it was made by people who do not care about the story or the music. The lead performance is a charisma vacuum. This is the exact type of movie Walk Hard was parodying 17 years ago. This film is a joyless experience that does nothing to make you care for or appreciate the artist in question. Aesthetically, it's the cinematic equivalent of an old carpet. It does not deserve your time, it does not deserve to be talked about, it does not deserve any Oscars. I'm feeling a 3 out of 10 on this. Next up is Conclave. I've already talked about this film, but this is the latest film from German-Austrian-Swiss director Edward Berger, who previously directed the All Quiet on the Western Front remake, which won 4 Oscars, including Best International Film at the 2023 awards. Conclave is nominated for 8 Oscars. Lead actor, Ralph Fiennes is solid. He does what he does best. Not my favourite performance of the year, and it would be a bit annoying if he won, considering the competition, but he's not bad. Supporting actress, Isabella Rossellini. She's a legendary actress with a lengthy, illustrious career, so it's shocking to see that this is her first Oscar nomination ever. It's a bit baffling because she plays such a minor role and doesn't get the chance to do much of anything. You'd almost forget that she was in the movie at all. I guess this is a legacy nomination where the Academy is essentially apologizing for not recognizing her in the past. It would be a very weird win. Adapted screenplay. The screenplay is one of my biggest criticisms towards this film. It gets fairly stagnant and repetitive after a while. I wish that information was revealed in different, more exciting ways. It has a lot of telling and not a lot of showing. It's unfortunate because the conflicts in this film could have been explored in more exciting, interesting ways, but instead nearly every piece of information is conveyed through unexciting, bland dialogue exchanges. Film editing. I don't know why this is nominated for this. There wasn't anything special or notable about how this was edited. I guess it's just filling up space. Production design. Yeah, the production design was great. It's vibrant and striking. They recreated parts of, I think, the Sistine Chapel for it. A lot of what I can say about the production design can also be said about the costume design as well, in that they both work in tandem with the lighting to create something vibrant. There's a lot of detail and they are aesthetically pleasing, but ultimately there are better choices in the running for these 2 nominations. Score. The score in this is not as distracting as the score for All Quiet on the Western Front. It's fine, it has a nice atmosphere to it. I have no strong feelings about it. Best Picture. This is a perfectly well-made film with interesting conflicts and characters, but ultimately doesn't explore them as thoroughly as I would have liked. It just scratches the surface of what could have been a much more compelling film. The cinematography and lighting creates a dazzling, textured aesthetic, but unfortunately this makes the film hollow with a glossy finish. It's not a bad film, but I would be dissatisfied if this won Best Picture. I'm feeling a 6 out of 10 on this. Dune Part 2 is the 11th film from acclaimed Canadian-French director Denis Villeneuve. He has had an utterly impressive career so far, with his most notable films being Prisoners, Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, among many others. Dune Part 2 was the much anticipated sequel to Dune Part 1, which was released back in 2021. This film is nominated for 5 Oscars. Cinematography. There is so much to appreciate with the look of this film. The lighting and colour palette are both striking and visionary. I love how intense some of the colours are. There are so many scenes that are aesthetically breathtaking. There is one shot in particular that has stuck with me since I saw it, being the one of Paul getting ready to tame the sandworm. As the sandworm approaches, the foreground is moving quickly while the background remains perfectly still. On top of being visually dynamic, this shot helps capture the immense scale of the worm. This is easily a deserving win in this category. Production design. Much like the cinematography, the production design helps make the film appear incomprehensibly large. The production design helps create a distinct sci-fi world that feels fully realized. It melts together an eclectic mix of influences to create a world that does not feel derivative in the slightest. I wouldn't mind seeing this win. Sound. The film features the deepest bass notes I think I've ever heard. It's so heavy that it could almost shatter windows. Plus, there's all the intricate sound design involved when it comes to the explosive action scenes. I think this is the most likely to win this award. Visual effects. In terms of visual effects, this might be the best looking film of this decade. I've had a long think about it, and I can say that this thing does look better than Avatar: The Way of Water. It's so pristine and endlessly impressive. In my opinion, most CGI heavy films look bad. I think that this should be the industry standard, or at least somewhere close to it. It would be a complete and utter joke if this did not win. Best Picture. This is one of the most gigantic cinematic spectacles ever made. The word epic was invented for films like this. I'm not a big fan of the 2021 film. I felt like there was a lot holding it back, but when it comes to part 2, literally every single one of my criticisms of part 1 has been fixed. I think it improves on its predecessor in just about every way. Now, I do have my own criticisms of part 2, especially with the ending, but they have subsided a bit since my initial viewing. When it comes to sci-fi epics, there isn't much more you could ask for, and I wouldn't be upset if this won. I'm feeling a 7 or an 8 out of 10 on this. I haven't really decided. I guess 7.5 out of 10. Next up is Emilia Pérez. This is the latest film from the... Fuck's sake, how am I going to talk about this fucking thing? This is the latest film from French director Jacques Audiard, the same bloke who made The Sisters Brothers, Rust and Bone, and Paris 13th District. Before I go any further, I have to mention how this film might be the most controversial film ever made, or at least that's how it seems. It isn't just that I see vitriolic hatred for this film every time I look it up, it's that I see vitriolic hatred for it every time I go online. There's no escaping it. I saw this film during a limited theatrical run, so I saw it before the controversy took off. When I saw it, I knew people were going to hate it, but not to this degree. It seems that the awards attention it got has invited more people to shit on it in a sort of snowball effect. Based on what people are saying, it seems as though little thought was put into the... Every criticism is valid because it's pissing off the very people it's trying to depict. I do think that the hatred that this film has gotten is a bit out of proportion. I mean, there are people who are being hounded for liking it. At risk of facing the guillotine, I can say that there are some things I liked about this film. It's nominated for 13 Oscars for some reason, and I think this is something of a record. I don't know why they chose this film for 13 Oscars, but let's go through it. Come on, there's 13 of them for feck's sake. Director Jacques Audiard makes a lot of bizarre choices with this film. It's like a soap opera musical, so a lot of it is extremely tacky and overly melodramatic. It goes hard with what it's trying to do, but it's almost completely indigestible. It walks the line between kitschy and garish, and more times than not, it stumbles into garish. Lead actress Carla Sofia Gascon has become the first ever openly trans woman to be nominated for an Oscar, so at least that's something productive. She was honestly great and was my favourite part of the film, and oh, well then forget it. This whole thing is a mess. Like, just delete the whole film. Just delete the whole film. Supporting actress Zoe Saldana is good, but not Oscar-worthy good. I nearly forgot that she was in this, not to mention how she has very little to do in the second half of the film, since her character gets abruptly pushed to the side. Adapted screenplay. As mentioned previously, this film offers an unflattering portrayal of Mexicans and trans people that a lot of people aren't happy with. Putting that aside, this film is way too disjointed and unsatisfying and tone-deaf to be nominated. Cinematography. This whole movie looks like a music video, and I get that it's a stylish choice or whatever, but it makes it aesthetically repulsive at points. The lighting and camera movements were sometimes striking, but not frequently enough for me to think that this deserves to win. Film editing. There are like 2 cuts in this that I found memorable and nothing special beyond these fleeting moments. I don't know if this counts as editing, but at 2 hours 13 minutes, this thing is way too long and more than wears out its welcome by the end. Sound. The musical numbers were well produced, but that's it. Again, it's a musical, so a sound nomination feels obligatory and forced. Makeup and hairstyling. Selena Gomez has a nice haircut, or wig, at one point. This is by far the weakest nomination in this category, and it would actually be embarrassing if this won. Original score. The score is as equally garish as the visuals, with some extremely unpleasant autotune mixed into some of the tracks. No thank you. Original song. This film is nominated for 2 original songs, the first being El Mal. Don't hate me, but this song isn't bad. I can't speak for the lyrics, maybe they're nonsense. The production could be a little less brittle at points. I don't know, I'm not Anthony Fantano. But it goes hard. The dance number associated with the song is one of the highlights of the film, with lots of striking colours and choreography. This thing would go to the semi-finals of Eurovision. The other song nominated is Mi Camino. The lyrics are likely nonsense, however, unlike El Mal, this song is completely forgettable. It's not as catchy, it's extremely one note, and it's over before it gets the chance to do anything. Best International Film. Based on how all of Mexico hates this film, it would cause uproar if this won, especially considering how it's competing against an infinitely more beloved Latin American film this year. It would be a disaster, and for Jacques Audiard's sake, I hope this doesn't win. And then lastly, Best Picture. Given its subject matter, this film's success at these award shows comes across as a half-assed rebuttal to Donald Trump. I'm convinced this is why this thing has gotten 13 nominations, as if Trump or his following would give a flip. If they wanted to make a statement, the Academy should have made The Apprentice the frontrunner. It would have at least gotten a reaction from Trump. I've never seen a film get this much hate before. It's almost inescapable. My main take on this film is this: it makes a lot of bold choices. A lot of them do not work, and the ones that do work aren't good enough to deserve 13 Oscar nominations. My biggest issues with this film are the garish aesthetic of it, which makes it very off-putting and almost unwatchable at points. I can't wait for the Oscars to be over so I can just forget that this film ever existed. I'm sick of talking about it. I'm feeling a 4 out of 10 on this. Next up is I'm Still Here. This is the latest film from Walter Salles, the same director who made Central Station and The Motorcycle Diaries. It is nominated for 3 Oscars. Lead actress. Fernanda Torres delivers a strong performance here. It is very reserved, but also full of emotional potency. Personally, it wouldn't be my choice though, since there are stronger contenders in the category. International feature. Every single year since 2019, the Best International Feature winner was easy to predict, since one of the nominees would be nominated for Best Picture as well. It means that the Academy are inadvertently admitting that they think this is the best one out of the nominees. However, this is the first year that 2 Best Picture nominees are competing for Best International Feature Film. It's either going to be I'm Still Here or Emilia Pérez, and I hope it's I'm Still Here because I think chaos will ensue otherwise. And lastly, Best Picture. I think this film is fine. Overall, it tells a very compelling story and does it competently, but that's about it. I was never really moved by anything I saw, and in some ways, I could describe this as being Oscar bait. I haven't really thought about this at all since I watched it, and I think I forgot most of the film on the drive home anyway. Despite being less than an hour shorter than The Brutalist, it felt longer somehow. It's fine. It's not bad. It just didn't really connect with me at all. 6 out of 10, I think. Nickel Boys is the second feature-length film from Ramel Ross and is also his first narrative feature. It's nominated for 2 Oscars. Adapted screenplay. This film has a highly unconventional structure that may put a lot of people off. It's straight up experimental and can be very difficult to penetrate at points. However, this is one of the most rewarding films released this decade. The core of the story is both harrowing and distressing, but the way they choose to tell the story creates a one-of-a-kind experience. It emphasizes the minutiae of day-to-day life and almost refuses to explore anything on a macro level. This makes the film feel so intimate and personal, allowing the emotional beats to hit like a truck. Plus, there's so much to read into with this film that it deserves multiple watches. Given how it's nominated for so few Oscars, I hope it wins this award just so it can win something. It's also nominated for Best Picture. Again, this film is only nominated for 2 Oscars, so its chances of winning Best Picture are slim. This is an outrage because this is easily one of the best films of the year. This film could easily have been nominated for directing, score, cinematography, and editing. I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, but Anjanou Ellis-Taylor is utterly incredible and should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actress. This is one of the most layered, thoughtful, and unique films I've ever seen. It's nothing short of impressive with how this was pulled off. There is an ocean of purpose and substance beneath each and every creative decision here. This is one of my favourite films of 2024 and it deserves all the praise it gets, and I think more people should watch it. I'm feeling a 9 out of 10 on this. Next up is The Substance. This is the second feature film from French director Coralie Fargeat. This film won Best Screenplay at the 2024 Cannes Film Festival and is nominated for 5 Oscars. Best Director. This is one of the wildest horror films ever made. It has such an aggressive, in-your-face style that you can almost see the veins bulging out of this thing. Just about every scene has a creative choice that is striking and memorable. It's totally over the top, but also extremely visionary. I wouldn't mind Fargeat winning. Lead actress. Demi Moore is solid in the lead for the most part. However, the more the film goes on, the more manic her performance becomes. For the entire second half of the film, Moore is completely unrecognizable and is able to sell a performance that a lot of actors wouldn't be able to handle. She may not be my personal favourite this year, but it would be a deserving win. Original screenplay. To be fair, this film is anything but subtle. It's constantly right up in your face and effectively bludgeons you over the head. However, what this film lacks in subtlety, it makes up for it with extremity. This story sets up some clear rules as to how the titular substance works and explores each possibility to its fullest extent. It is endlessly satisfying to see all the crazy directions the story takes. It goes completely over the top and is constantly finding new ways to push the envelope. This film is essentially like the Aristocrats joke, where it's always trying to outdo itself in terms of absurdity and vulgarity. It would be fantastic to see a screenplay as mental as this win an Oscar. Makeup and hairstyling. This film features some outstanding makeup effects. It looks so real and gross and squeamish, even though most of it is exaggerated. Especially towards the end, this film seriously delivers on the body horror spectacle. And lastly, Best Picture. The fact that this is nominated for Best Picture is huge because it's only the 7th horror Best Picture nominee ever. The Academy just hates genre films for some reason. This film is expertly crafted, wildly entertaining, and endlessly satisfying. You will never in a million years guess how this film ends. Everything is dialed up to 11. In terms of body horror, I don't know how anyone else can outdo this. I'm feeling a 9 out of 10 on this. Wicked is the latest film directed by John M. Chu, the same guy who made Now You See Me Too and Justin Bieber Never Say Never. This is a 2024 film based on a 2003 stage musical, based on a 1939 film that's based on a 1900 book. It has 10 nominations. Lead actress. Cynthia Erivo is very talented. She has a fine set of lungs on her. Her performance was solid. I was more impressed by her singing than her acting. There were better choices for the award, but it wouldn't be bad if she won. Supporting actress. Ariana Grande was a lot better than I was expecting. She had some line deliveries that actually made me laugh. Like Arrival, it's a good performance, but there are others that I would choose over this. Film editing. I don't know why this is nominated here. There wasn't anything notable about the editing at all. This film is also way too long at 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's ridiculous. It should not be that long. Production design. There is some legitimately fantastic production design here, but it's all buried underneath CGI sludge and an eyesore of a colour palette. From what I can tell, it's good, but it doesn't shine through, unfortunately. Costume design. No strong feelings, the costumes were good. Sound. Again, this feels obligatory because it's a musical. No strong feelings. Makeup and hairstyling. Arrivo is green, that's it. They painted her green. Her hair looked nice, I guess. Original score. The score is well produced and has a whimsical air to it, although it comes across as a bit formulated and unadventurous. Would be a bit annoyed to see this win over The Brutalist. Visual effects. No, this thing has some truly hideous CGI monstrosities throughout. I do not like looking at those talking CGI animals. You don't even have to use real animals, just get puppets or something, give it some personality. I don't understand Hollywood's insistence on using CGI for everything if they're going to have it look all stale and lifeless. It kind of kills most of the movie for me, to be honest. If it wasn't such an eyesore, I think I would have enjoyed this thing more. And then lastly, Best Picture. 2024 had a lot of musicals for some reason, and a lot of them were bad. So the fact that this film actually functions as a musical at all is an accomplishment in and of itself. It features some extravagant choreography and set design, which you'd think would be the bare minimum, but the fact that this has it at all makes it comfortably step over the incredibly low bar. Truth be told, this isn't for me. My favourite album of 2024 was this. So personally, I am on a completely different wavelength to this. As mentioned before, I really hate how muted this film looks. The Brutalist, a film about dirt and concrete, has a more vibrant colour palette than this. Lastly, this is a part 1 to a story, meaning it ends right before the plot starts to ramp up. It's an extremely unsatisfying ending, especially given the ungodly runtime. What we have here is essentially a 2-hour, 40-minute long first act. Not to mention how obvious it is that they're doing this to double ticket sales. I didn't hate this movie, and it's pretty solid considering how abysmal a lot of the other modern musicals are. I would be annoyed if this wins Best Picture, but at least it would be a relief compared to Emilia Pérez and A Complete Unknown winning. I'm feeling a 5 out of 10 on this. Those are my thoughts on the 2025 Best Picture nominees. I was originally going to talk about every single nominee, but unfortunately I am full-time employed, so I don't have the time to do that. And what do you think should win? I think everyone should brace for impact for an Emilia Pérez sweep, because I can sense it coming. That being said, thank you.